started.
Okay, you're recording.
Okay, so the purpose of tonight's meeting, we're going to be doing the reorganization of the board because we need to elect a new chair.
Skipping attendance.
Oh, attendance, we have, do we want to go around? Michael was suggesting that maybe we go around and just introduce ourselves, so I will start. My name is Ann Kaplan, and I am the current vice chair and acting chair. And if you know, I'm going to
Emil Parmalee, and I represent Randolph on the board, live in Randolph Central.
I am Beverly. I'm the newest board member, and I also represent Randolph.
And I'm Martha Hafner, and I'm the former newest. But she's very welcome to the seat, and I also live in Randolph.
Rachel, we're just going around and introducing ourselves.
I'm Rachel Gatus, and I represent Braintree. Or I'm from Braintree, I guess I represent everybody, like we all do.
Hi, I'm Sam Hooper. I'm elected in Brookfield and represent the OSSD.
Everybody.
Hi folks, I'm Ryan Anderson and I'm also from Brookfield.
Michael Clark, superintendent.
And Kyle is our
Kyle, I am.
Oh yeah.
There, yep.
Okay, so back to the meeting purpose. Tonight, we're going to be doing reorganization and just do a fair amount of planning for the coming year.
My
Yes,
suspicion is trying to join remotely and can't find the link.
okay, did you do
Working.
that?
Yeah, I'm working on it right now. I just sent her an email that said 1 minute.
All right.
Okay. Does the board want me to pause while we wait for Rachel to get on, or are we ready to review and maybe add? We have a request to have an addition to our agenda.
And we need to add also, so I have a request for an addition as well.
And you have as well. Do you want to get her on and then we'll?
I want to do whatever you want me to do.
All right,
here.
we're going to pause for a moment while we wait for Rachel to get pitched in, just so that we have everybody and you can focus.
Great.
An
There she
Here
is.
she is. All right, so I'm going to unpause us and we'll continue on. So we have a couple of additions to the agenda tonight. So we have a family that has made a request to ask the board to have their child attend in a different district. And Michael also has something he'd like to add.
Yeah, we are short an automotive teacher, and so we're looking to put the automotive program at RTCC on hold. And in order to do that, we need the OSSD board and the RAB board to both acknowledge that we're doing that and support that decision.
So what section of the agenda should we put that under? Should that go under,
Probably monitoring or policy decisions.
I think you should just put it in under the closing at the end, maybe. I know we're going to take action there, and typically you do that at the consent agenda,
It's a
but
state required thing, so
Yep.
could we put it under, well, no, then it wouldn't be a consent agenda. What if we put it under board process?
sure, wherever you want to put it.
So that's, so it's pause, RTCC,
Automotive program.
automotive. And do we have to pause it for the whole year, like we can't? Yeah, it's.
I'll tell you more about it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Worked out.
Okay. So, I forgot to ask, do
Mr. Hannigan.
Do we have to have a board vote on whether or not we accept these items?
Typically, the way I've seen it done, Anne, is yes, the chair, you'd like to add the things. If there's no disagreement to that, then
We can go
you
ahead
can
and
go
do
ahead
that.
and consider them added.
Okay, so are folks on board with adding those 2 agenda items?
Sounds great.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay, so, public comments.
And then are you going to put the family request right after
The
public
family
comment?
request I was gonna put right after public comments, I don't see any public here. So I'm gonna go ahead and move right on to, Jennifer and her husband and Philip for their requests. And unfortunately, we don't have a way to do this in executive session, because we're not gonna be sharing specifics about Philip, so, it's gonna be to your discretion how much you wanna divulge about, your son-in-law's request.
All right.
So I think in this case, you have a written request. It was in the supplemental packet that came. That Hennigan's had reached out, and Anne had said she would request putting it on the agenda if we could get their letter into the packet. And so we did that on Monday. So you have that available to you. It's page 3 of the full packet. With that said, I think that we have just done one of these not too long ago, so you know that under Vermont statute, the place of residence is where families attend based on statute. So, I don't have a lot more to say than I did the last time with this, that what the family's requesting in this case would require you to pay tuition for Philip to attend the Bethel Middle School.
Do we know how much tuition is?
I don't know what the exact number is, but I would hazard a guess it's somewhere between 15 and 20,000.
Yeah, that's what I figured too, given that last time we had a request like this, I think it was closer to 24,000, I think it was.
Yeah, 24 is definitely a higher cost than what typically comes in on that.
Okay. And you folks live in Brookfield, is that correct?
Yes, we do.
Okay, thank you.
So last time, Anne, I think that you gave the family an opportunity to share their story, and then you made a decision.
Okay. So do you have anything else that you would like to add to what you've already shared with us in the letter?
Really, Philip would like to have his voice heard at this time. I'm just here supporting him and his choice at this point.
Okay.
He made some notes, so bear with him. As he kind of goes through it, he's, not used to talking in front of a facilitated meeting such as this. So just work with him.
Sure.
All right.
Absolutely.
Philip, you got it, man.
Whenever you're ready.
Forward. Go ahead.
All right. You're right. You're right. I think research is pretty done.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay. I would rather go to Bethel for middle school. This is why.
The Pathway class allows me to choose things I want to learn, meet members of the community, and shadow them. I can use this to help explore my future hands-on. Bethel offers a trade class. I won't need to wait until high school. The culture, for example, I like how the people listen and talk to the kids first in any situation. Science and outdoor classrooms. I'm excited. I won't be stuck inside all day. I could keep telling everyone why I need this move. I know all of you have made up your minds. I have heard every adult. The board will say no because of money. You also don't want to have other kids make a choice to leave Randolph School. That's not fair for me and my goals. I would like to advocate for myself and how I would pursue my growth academically. Thank you. I'm gonna die.
One thing I'd like to add to that is Philip is, when we had a meeting with Superintendent Mike over here, he was aware of that whole conversation. He was in on it. He didn't speak, but he heard a lot of the discussion, which is where the monetary comes in. And the same thing, we took a tour of Bethel, when Philip was invited to go see their school, talk to Pierre, the principal over there, and it was the same thing, money. So that gives credit to some of the notes that he's trying to express onto what he's, looking to achieve is it's money, and he doesn't like that. So that he wanted to somehow bring that to your attention.
Okay, any board members have any questions? Philip? For Michael? Clarification
It's just
on
say,
legal aspects?
yeah, I think,
Are we ready to make a motion?
probably should get the motion on the table and then the discussion at that.
All right, so do we have a motion to either accept this request or reject the request?
Do we discuss this before or after we move?
After.
Okay.
Wait, you're gonna-
Well, forgive me, I will move to reject the request.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Rachel Fish. And now we're open for discussions.
The last time we had, go ahead, Michael.
So I think what I would say in this case is we have a middle school that has what needs to be offered for students. I understand and that people would like to have choice and to be able to move around to different systems. Unfortunately, the Vermont system isn't set up to do that. I think that what you see in a situation like this is that if you start paying tuition, if you operate a school building and you pay tuition, financially it creates definite hardships that happen along the way. And while I recognize that one student isn't going to create that hardship, if suddenly you've got, say the tuition's $20,000 and 5 people want to go, you're suddenly looking at $100,000 worth of expenditure.
Yep.
That's going out that's not budgeted nor planned for. Should Vermont change its system? Or, I think that when we talk later about H454 and we start talking about bigger districts, I think that there'll be some opportunity within that for some of, in that case, it will be intra-district choice instead of inter-district choice. And so I think it'll be more set up. For instance, right now, we have, for all extensive purposes, intra-district choice in grades K through, or pre-K through 6. You can go to any one of the campuses by filling out a simple hardship waiver that are within our district. It's only once we get beyond the district that it creates a challenge. So I share that with the board much like I shared it last time, and I understand the desire.
And again, Philip, please forgive us, but the reason I moved to reject this is simply because of the monetary aspect of this. Michael's right that if we do this kind of thing, if we grant a request like this, it opens up a precedent for others to ask that kind of thing. And once one person wants their preference that we end up have to pay for, that people in Brookfield and Randolph and Braintree have to pay for, like your parents and me and everyone else here, it becomes really expensive. And right now, this is not a good time to be asking for additional expenses. And even if we had a lot of money, it wouldn't be. So that's why I moved to reject this. Is, you know, again, if we had 10 students doing this, suddenly we have a cost of maybe $240,000, and that's a significant portion of our budget. So it's really just a matter of when someone wants to go to a different school, it's just way too expensive for us and the taxpayers to lift that, you know? So that's why we ultimately end up usually rejecting these requests. All the time I've been on the board, we haven't accepted one yet.
Yeah, I want to add, Philip, I'm very impressed that you're coming in and advocating for yourself and that you're trying to figure out what you need, and you've identified something that seems like it would be good for you. And I totally hear you. And I hate seconding a motion to reject it. But at the same time, when I think about, you know, $20,000 less, that takes away from our ability to serve all of our other students. And it's not fair to take that money away from other kids to pay another district. So yeah, I commend you for advocating for yourself, and I just wanted to add that in.
And just to add a little bit to that as well, the other thing is you're learning how to advocate now, and even as you move forward and you stay within our district, or if you stay within our district, don't be afraid to advocate for your needs within our district itself. You may find that you have teachers and administrators who will be looking out for trying to meet your educational needs. So hopefully that practice that you've gotten speaking with adults, which is a little scary, you'll continue to push for what you need in your own education and take control of it, which is great. So are we ready for call the question?
I think so.
Okay. So all those in favor of rejecting the request for the district to pay for the education of a student outside of our district, please say aye.
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 All those opposed? There are none. So that passes unanimously. So
Just
good luck, Philip.
Add a comment, you might want to keep an ear open. I know that there are things brewing on the topic of school choice, and that might be something you might want to keep an ear open for.
Thank you again for advocating for yourself, Philip. That is very impressive. And if it was not a matter of money, I think that we'd be more open to allowing students to, you know, switch between districts, but we have to be fiscally responsible. So thanks for understanding, and again, thanks for advocating for yourself.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, moving forward, and again, looking at H454 and possible changes coming down the line.
So I gave you a pretty good quick summary of H454. It starts on page 53 of your board packet. And so I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but I'm going to, just for the sake of the community, highlight 454 is the bill that passed and it's got signed into law this year. What it is looking to do is create less districts in the state of Vermont and bigger districts, somewhere between 4,000 and 8,000 students is what's looking to happen there. A redistricting task force has been created, and I shared with you who the folks are on that. The Speaker of the House got to put on 3 members. The Senate Committee on Committees got to put in 3 members. The Speaker of the House also got to appoint a retired superintendent and a former school board member. The Senate Committee on Committees also got to put on a retired superintendent and a retired director of finance. And the governor appointed David Watt. So a lot of good people on that committee. They have started meeting. They have the task of, by December 1st, having a plan that they can share with the legislature. They've got some meetings that they've got to do between now and then. And essentially under this statute, we operate this year as usual, and we have a vote on our budget as usual. We operate next year as usual, but we don't have a vote on our budget because another part of H454 was to put in a foundation formula. And so there's some features around that, but that's not this budget cycle, that's next budget cycle. So I'm not going to get too bogged down in that right at the moment. And you know, I think that by 3 years, you're operational, under the statute, you're operational in the new districts. So it is really ambitious. It is a really fast time when you stop and think about it. When you create a new district, everything that you need to operate that district needs to be created. You've got to negotiate your new collective bargaining agreements. You've got to figure out how you're spending the money that's been allocated. You've got to adopt all your policies. So those new boards are going to have a lot of work to do in order to be operational in 3 years. So it wouldn't surprise me. This is where commentary comes in, I suppose. It wouldn't surprise me if this timeline gets extended. I think that's likely. But then again, I don't speak for the legislature and the governor, and so this is what it is for right now. The other 2 parts of updating you on H454 are, you had a meeting back in June with the Payne Mountain Board, and the 2 boards tasked the 2 superintendents with putting out a joint letter to Montpelier, Barrie, White River Valley, and U32. We did that. Copied you on, I gave you the link to the letter in the board report. I am fairly confident that White River Valley is coming to that meeting, and I read in the Times Argus, got a message from the Barrie superintendent that Barrie's coming to the meeting. The article in the Times Argus was pretty clear that they're coming to hear more about it. I'm not sure that they're super interested in creating a merger, but they're figuring let's at least get to know our neighbors, which I thought was kind of a nice way of looking at that. This is an opportunity for us to get together with the people that surround us and figure out what values and beliefs do we have that line up with other people's values and beliefs. I'll remind you that that meeting is next Wednesday night, and it is in Williamstown, at the Williamstown High School where it was last time. So.
At 6 p.m., right?
Kyle's shaking her head up and down, yes.
I have a link that I can send out to everybody.
And we'll have to warn it as a special meeting as well. Okay? And then the last piece that I have for you today around H454 is we had entered into a contract with a company called Up for Learning. It's a Vermont company that promotes student leadership and student empowerment, and they were going to do some work with us last year. Our funding for that kind of got tied up, and we weren't sure whether we were going to get it or not get it, and we put that on hold, but we had a signed contract with them. They allowed us to put it on hold, and we built the expenses into a grant that we know that we have for this year. And so we've also repurposed that now so that instead of doing the work that they were going to do, which was going to be very specific to just the Orange Southwest School District, we are working with them to put together a leadership group of students and student voice so that we can talk about in a central Vermont regional way, what are we looking for in a school district? And we put together a timeline that is going to get us sort of close to, we're going to have to figure out how do we share a draft with that redistricting task force. We won't be finalized. There's just no way when you start looking at how do you get quality input from people. I've worked with Up for Learning all summer long, and I've had a couple meetings with some of the other superintendents who might be a part of this, who might send kids, but that's moving forward, and we'll see what it is. If nothing more, it is students advocating for what they're looking for.
So this would be a student group, not necessarily an adult group, is that what I'm hearing?
It's going to be a student-led group, and I think they're going to reach out to adults too, and so the students are going to lead groups with adults, is what I picture is going to happen. Yep.
Do we know, is Williamstown Northfield going to join in that?
So I'm pretty confident that White River Valley, Williamstown, and Northfield, and right now I'm pretty confident that Montpelier will also have some kids with that. I think it's likely that there will be other people that also come to that. I've got some work to do. The rest of this week is putting the finishing touches on that and reaching out to people who haven't reached back to us to say, yes, we are interested in this. We've reached out to, on the same day that we sent the letter, the joint letter, I followed up behind that joint letter with a letter inviting people to participate in this, the same entities.
Any sense of the timeline for that?
And what?
When it might happen?
The meetings, yeah, it's in your packet. So we've got September, the district-wide retreat to build the leadership. It's on page 56. October, November, December, and January wrapping up.
Okay.
Right, and then Up for Learning is gonna help try and get that message then, or the
Up for Learning is
information.
facilitating the whole thing. Part of the facilitation of the whole thing is to get us in front of
Those
that
committees.
redistricting board somewhere along the way and to see what we can do.
Help me connect my own personal dots. Do I recall seeing something with Up for Learning that was more of a music kind of scenario? Is this going to incorporate that, or is that something that I've got skewed in my brain?
There's a group called Up with People,
No, not
which is a
sing- no.
singing thing.
I think you might have heard Up for Learning before. Up for Learning helped with the Portrait of a Graduate work.
Okay.
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think this is a good opportunity, and I mean, I think that we haven't given students a whole lot of opportunity to weigh in on 454. I don't recall seeing a lot of students giving testimony at the State House around this. I don't see students being invited by the Agency of Education around developing a vision for education in Vermont. That's something that I've been pushing for years, and I just finally said, look, I'm gonna push that in a regional way, and if nobody else is going to do it, then we're going to do it here at Orange Southwest and say, what does this look like? And I don't know what the outcomes of those will be. I don't know what the outcomes of the conversations with Payne Mountain will be. I just think that it makes a lot more sense rather than having the list of people on the redistricting task force making all of the decisions. I think we've got to figure out how to get this out there to Vermonters and have Vermonters make decisions and understand what's going on at some level. I don't think anybody argues that there's no change needed. I think what that change looks like needs a lot of voices to be able to say, hey, here's what we're doing. If we're talking about making a major restructure to what education in Vermont looks like, right now we have a board here representing give or take 1,000 kids, right? So this board, and it has 2 members each from each of Brookfield and Braintree, and 4 Randolph members. When you get to the new board and when we're merged, it is going to not be a lot bigger of a board, if any bigger. And so the way that the representation on that is going to take place is going to be different. Just that, and just have the voters thought about that. Have we said, we have a diverse group, you all are a diverse group of people here representing many different points of view. Is that something that's going to be important to continue, and how? So I think that's a piece of what's got to happen, and over the next 3 or however many years it is, we have to get communities ready for what that change looks like. I mean, I give you, for instance, this week I was on a call with a daycare provider talking about busing, right? And I have that ability to do that. It's, we're in the summer, I can have that conversation, I can try to work with her with that. And if I'm running an 8,000 kid school district made up of, let's say all of those districts that we did, so Barry, Montpelier, U32, White River Valley, and OSSD, no way. No way. It changes the way the interactions will happen across the board.
Speaking of that, do you know about the potential hiring practice for the new superintendents?
No clue. Yeah.
How will the youth be recruited for this, and what age range are they thinking for this leadership team? Are they thinking grade school and high school, or just high school?
So if I had more time, I definitely would have brought in younger grades. But at this point, because of the timeline and what I need to be able to do, I am going to be at the upper grade levels.
Good.
Great.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions? We're going to move on.
I just think that's good leadership, Michael, to make that conversation start happening.
Thanks. It's exciting.
Okay, so we're a little bit behind schedule, but we're moving along. So the next thing we need to discuss is we would like to be the chair of the board and do those nominations. I'm going to open the floor for nominations.
I'd like to nominate you, Anne, to be chair. I think you handled us over the summer really well. You know our policies inside out and backwards, which is a real benefit in that position. I'd like to nominate Ann Kaplan.
Second.
Okay. Do we have any others, or do we? I never know how to do this. Do we get all the nominees and then vote, or do we vote on one once it's been, or we open up to discussion and then
I would
vote?
say let's vote, because if you accept, then we'll have to have another vote.
Okay, so Do we have any discussion? Nope. All right, well, let's go ahead and vote. So we're voting on the nomination of Ann Kaplan for the chair of the OSSD board. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so I will be the chair, so that now opens up the vice chair position, and I would like to nominate Emil Barley. So we have a second.
Yeah, second.
We've got a second. So
And I'll accept.
you'll accept. Thank you very much. So all those in favor, say aye.
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 So we have a chair and a vice chair. So the next vacancy that we have to deal with is the teacher contract negotiation committee. Hannah served on that. So that one is now open.
We
let's
have a
see.
signed contract, or we have an almost signed contract?
You're going to ratify it tonight. On your side, they're going to ratify it on the 20th, and if it gets ratified, it's 2 years.
Okay.
It's a good committee to be on right
Yeah, I
now.
was gonna say, so technically we do need somebody,
Technically we do.
but it's really low pressure.
Low pressure.
Presumably, you know, if one signs up for it, there'd probably be it next year too. The only thing I'll say about this is that I was on a different negotiating committee this year, and it was a great experience as a new board member. So if you're looking for a really good learning experience, highly recommend it.
Would this be a conflict of
Yes.
interest for me?
Yes.
That's what I thought.
Oh,
Can't do this.
oh, that's right, because you have a spouse.
So, and the support staff contract, that's Ryan, myself, and Martha and Rachel Gates. So, and-
Somebody's got to jump from the support staffs because Rachel Fish can't be on the teacher negotiating committee.
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we can switch those around, I'm happy to do the support staff one.
I'm happy to be on a different committee, too.
Okay, I could jump to teacher.
I was gonna say, Ryan, it's a lot of pressure. Do you think you could handle it?
Be happy to jump to teacher.
All right.
And likely,
I would happily nominate you,
Oh, thank
Ryan.
So
and likely
Ryan-
stay on it and for the following year as well.
It's a 2-year contract, so we're actually.
You're not, well,
Yeah,
Not negotiating.
You're not
Not
negotiating.
negotiating next year, and it might not be the following year if they're already married.
That's too bad because I was actually looking forward to this one. Like, I actually really enjoyed the support staff negotiations. It was a lot of fun, and I was like, I don't know, that could have been a
it's
lot
like
of fun.
the smartest committee to get on right now.
I would do it. I'll do it.
All right.
Okay,
Gladly.
so that means we have.
You've got a nomination.
We get
We've
a
I
got a
second.
nomination.
I second the nomination.
So we got a second over here from Beverly, and so all those in favor.
You want to do
of-
further discussion first?
Oh, further discussion on Ryan moving to the teacher.
I just hope you can all really give me your vote of confidence here. I know it's a heavy lift. I know it's a lot of pressure, but trust in my ability to negotiate, folks. I will be fair but firm.
Okay, awesome. So all those in favor of Ryan being on the teacher negotiation committee? Unanimous, Ryan. Unanimous.
With the sales pitch and all.
And on the other one, we have 3. If someone would like to join, we will be negotiating again with the support staff.
You will.
So if someone, currently, it's Rachel Gatis,
Do you
Martha
want to do that
Heffner,
when you get
and-
closer?
Sure,
Yeah.
we could do that later on.
I like
All
that.
right, that way we'll move on. So next up on the agenda is looking,
And
yes.
board member to sign in absence of the chair.
Oh, right. So that was normally me. So we need to have someone other than me. So if I can't sign something that needs to be signed by the chair.
Emil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels like a vice chair
Are
thing.
you're close, because you're.
Yeah, I'm at Gifford, so
Okay.
I'm not.
Are you flexible, or how about, you're right there? No,
No,
you are
don't
not
do this to me.
flexible,
Don't do
okay?
this to me.
We can rent
I'm
something
gonna
to
be at
Gifford if
trade
we need
show,
to.
you're
Yeah,
right.
and I can either, I mean, I'm dropping kids off at the school, so, and picking them up, so
Okay, so
I'm
that works
around.
well for you.
it's like a
Okay,
drive across the parking lot situation.
so Emil, we'll put Emil in there. Do we want to vote on that?
No.
Are we okay with
Do we need to vote?
Emil will,
I've always had that as the vice chair responsibility anyway, so.
oh, okay.
As a side note, if you ever need a second for that, I'm often in Brookfield as I work from home. I can pop down Ridge Road for you.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
All right, so then we're moving on. Thank you for catching that, by the way, Kyle. So Kyle, will you send out that list of everybody's committee assignments? Because for some reason I had one that was pretty old.
Yes.
That would be great. All right, so we are going to move on to our reviewing and looking at our annual agenda. So that is that, we changed the format a little bit last year, Hannah and I, to try and make it a little bit easier. And this is basically what builds our agenda. And so it doesn't change dramatically from year to year, but I don't know if folks have looked at it at all, or wanted to change anything up with it. And if you look on the left, you see the months that we're going to be doing things, and it basically looks at all the different categories of the work that we need to get done.
If you as a board approve this agenda, we'll go in, we'll fix the dates.
Yeah.
I have a question. What's EL stand for there?
Executive limitation. So this is sort of our schedule for having Michael interpret all of the limitations that we put on him in terms of what he can and cannot do as he is trying to meet our ends. The one thing, ends development and review, we sort of had that on regular, but regularly. But I would like, one of our goals that I was thinking we might want to make sure that we have on the forefront is finalizing those ends and adopting them, because we sort of got partway in that process. And so somewhere along here, maybe by October, to maybe have accepting the new ends or reviewing the final draft of ends. To that.
That seems reasonable.
Yeah, that gives us a month or two to work on them and possibly get some consultation from Jeannie.
Yeah, so
Are there committees working on this?
The committee finished its work, and we sort of presented.
well, didn't we leave it after the retreat that Michael and Jeannie were gonna take a look at it and take the notes from that meeting and then regurgitate something to us that we were gonna,
That we could then look at.
Which Michael and Jeannie can do for next meeting. I could have those ready for that regurgitation piece. But I would say this to you, they are the board's ends. And so Jeannie and I can take what you've said, put it into ends kind of language, and if it meets your needs, you'll make the October deadline. If you look at it and you say, well, actually, you're gonna be longer than that, because it's ultimately the
Yeah.
timeline for the ends being approved. It's on the board's shoulders. definitely your lane.
Yeah,
And
so
it's
I,
a need a first read and a second read.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
But
it's
then we could convene a subcommittee if we need more work on it after we see
After
what.
September.
Yep.
So I'm gonna
So
add
between
that
September and
to,
October, we could convene a subcommittee
I'm gonna have the first review
for a first review.
of the ends we'll try for in September, so that we keep that process moving.
Comment for me again, please. Portrait of a graduate is sort of ends for the students. Is that fit into this picture?
Yeah, I think that the ends jive with what I think the board's ends end up looking like, yes.
My understanding is that the portrait of the graduate informs the ends. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, that's
Actually, we go the opposite way.
Okay, thank you.
The ends should have informed the portrait of a graduate work. So they're informing each other. So the board sets the goal, right? You're telling me what you want to accomplish with the ends. You're telling me actually what the owners want to accomplish with the ends, and you're the representative of the owners. And so when the portrait of a graduate work was done, it was done to meet the ends that you already had in place. So if you look at the kinds of things when you talked about the academic proficiency and the whatnot, the portrait of a graduate work was sort of administration saying, this is what it's going to look like when we accomplish what you set as ends. And I think what you're trying to do with this ends revision is to tie those closer.
I don't think the ends inform the portrait of the graduate work. I think that was completely separate. Is that what you were saying, Michael?
Yeah, I'm saying that
I don't think so.
They definitely, well, so here's what I'm saying with that.
Okay.
One of your ends is academic proficiency, right? Portrait of a graduate work does part of that. There's other pieces of your ends, and so what the portrait of a graduate work is doing is saying, here, board, this is how we're achieving your ends. That's what I think that is supposed to be doing.
I don't think that's how they went about it when the focus groups met. I think it was a completely separate process, divorced from the ends, actually. And then we used the information to try to develop new ends. But the portrait of a graduate is much more like aspirational and things that like people saying we want the schools to do these things that are actually just like building humans, as though we engineer humans, and we don't do that. So taking kind of the sense of what a school can accomplish or a school system can accomplish from what we all dream of,
Yes.
And making that into something actionable for our school system. So that's the work between the portrait of the graduate and the ends. But I think the ends that we had were not like the basis on which they worked with the portrait of the graduate. It was completely divorced from the ends that we had at the time when they did the portrait of the graduate.
How about if I say it this way, then, Rachel?
Am I not getting you?
I think we're not exactly saying the same thing, but we're at the same spot. You as a board instruct the superintendent, here's what we would like to accomplish. These are our ends. The superintendent then comes and says, this is how I'm meeting those ends. So there are pieces within the portrait of a graduate work that should be the superintendent saying, here's how I'm meeting the ends that you have. I'm thinking right now what's happening is the two things are influencing each other. But I don't think that you want the superintendent, and so this is, again, I'm 14 months in. Pretty soon I can't say that I'm new to policy governance, but I'm still gonna play that card for a minute. I don't think that you say to the superintendent, here, go do whatever you want, and have it be not working towards the end. I'm gonna build a roller rink around the school because I think it would be, right? It would be awesome. You're gonna look at me and say, wait a second, Michael, how in the world is that tied to the ends? Why are you using school resources, taxpayer resources, our owners' resources to build the roller rink? Right? So they should be linked. Whether anybody explicitly linked it while it was happening, I'm explicitly linking it tonight for people so that the two things should be tying out in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to tie out perfectly because you leave me lots of latitude within the ends.
Thank you, that clarifies it for me.
Ryan's ready to move on.
It does though, it earnestly does. It does clarify for me.
I think you're right, Rachel, that when it was happening, they weren't explicitly tied together. And so there's an opportunity, and I think that's why you asked Jeannie and me to put it into terms that is gonna jive.
All right.
And so I've edited my little annual agenda to have, we'll shoot for a first review if it, and then we may need to shoot it to the ends committee, and maybe we'll, but we'll hope to have the new ends adopted by the October meeting if we can. Because remember, that's also what drives everything that the whole system is doing. So we want to make sure that we have the current ends or what he's going with now, but we want to have that updated version there and ready. I did want to mention the VSBA conference is going to be October 30th, and they're changing the venue for the first time in a long, long time. It was always at Lake Morion. It is now going to be up in Burlington at the Hilton on October 30th. Just so if you want to get that in your calendar, you know when it's happening.
And are they doing the half day?
They're doing the first day is, what do they say? First day, board officers and superintendent training and banquet, and then the actual full day conference would be on the 30th.
Okay.
So that's in that October section, you'll see that it says VSBA Fall Conference. And then last year, we had tried to do VSBA trainings. And I'm sort of jumping around a little bit because as we look at kind of our education plan, the VSBA is offering, again, one of those virtual for policy governance boards. It's a virtual monthly virtual meeting to go over issues or questions, challenges that boards are having. And those tend to be, with the exception of things like the open meeting law webinars, those are more pertinent to the way our board operates. So that is an option that we could have on a monthly basis, is to actually attend virtually. And then of course, you're going to attend when you can. Michael, you had talked about maybe.
I think it could be a really great opportunity for new board members and me around policy governance, if nothing else. I mean, the board, you last year our training consisted of doing the accelerator. Mm-hmm. And so this might be a nice substitute for that. It's the same cost. So if we register it for the superintendent and one board member, it's $450. If we register with the superintendent and 8 board members, it's $450. And so if that's something that new board members wanted to be a part of, I would certainly be willing to do that with them and figure out what that looked like. And it seemed like a low cost. And so if you and I commit to doing it, Beverly, then we open up a door and let everybody else walk through when it's convenient for them.
Yeah. So
As long as the board is supportive of that.
I think you and I attended one of those
Yes.
together.
Yes.
And
Yes.
in the very beginning, and I found it incredibly valuable.
Yeah, yeah. I believe, is Jeannie going to be doing it again? Jeannie and Deb?
I think that's the plan.
Yeah. And Yeah, and if everybody, it's an incredibly inexpensive way. Do we still want to also have on our, we have on here board education as people maybe watch different webinars? Do we want to have a time for people to share out what they're learning? Because we sort of had talked about doing that, but I don't know. It's on there for every month.
I don't think we ever really made use of the time of, hey, we did the board accelerator, what did you guys think? We never made use of that. I do think it would actually be valuable to set aside 15 minutes or something like that to, as an open, hey, does anyone have any good knowledge to share from any of these webinars we've been doing? These $450 things. And if not, great, good, we got that time back, keep going. But the expectation of doing the accelerator and then, well, how did we feel about that? I didn't think worked.
Okay. So we'll keep that on there, and it'll be the DSBA PG, are they calling it training? They aren't calling it training, right?
I don't remember what the official title was going to be.
Yeah. I'll fill that in, and then that'll just be a placeholder, so when we're building the agenda, this is kind of a placeholder for what we have as stuff that we want to have on the agenda. So that's, as you're looking at from month to month, this is how we kind of, and a lot of it is, it's sort of mandated, some of it. So it's sort of looking if we want to change it. Did folks feel good about having, bless you. We had folks coming in from various schools. We have, like I'm looking at September, it says central office, admin, attend and report. We did the different schools.
Yeah, the principal reports were amazing. I loved
RUHS,
those.
attend and support. Do we want to keep with this, basically the same outline?
Yeah, that was
And keep
fabulous
on
last
there?
year.
Yep. Okay. So Michael, we'll just need to make sure that, like this first one coming up, central office, and then attend and report. So in that, did we have Robin come one time?
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So we'll probably have Robin, we'll probably have Mindy Beth,
Okay,
right? To get you
That's
introduced to
pretty
those. We'll see. I'll figure that out.
okay. All right, so that's that section. These other, the EL reports were on that same schedule unless someone, does anybody have any major objections to sort of the schedule that we have for the EL reports?
We had talked about last year how, with it being Michael's first year, it was a little bit out of sync with a few things. So does this, now that you're not in your first year, is it a logical order for you?
Easy peasy now.
Great.
Perfect.
Okay, and the same thing with our self-evals. Now, I know Debbie was suggesting maybe one board member take a self-eval. And I heard very clearly from Rachel Gatis, no, let's not do it that way. So remember, that's the part in the board meeting when we look at the policies that deal with how the board operates and our delegation responsibilities. Okay, so the way we've been doing it, people feel like that works for now. Okay, and
Was it that loud, Anne? I mean,
what was that?
it wasn't that loud. This is public.
It made an impression, Rachel.
That's because I just sat back and looked at her and did the same thing just now, but it was not loud.
It was psychological.
Emphatic. Okay, sorry.
And then our ownership linkage, we have had an ownership linkage committee. as we're looking at our goals, that may, goals for the year, that may give that committee some work to do, or we may want to discuss it as a full board in terms of what our goals are for linking out to our ownership. In terms of, last year we did our 3 letters. We did a letter in the fall, we did the annual report letter, and then we did a letter in the spring. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Or did we end up, yeah, we did 3.
I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
I would like to propose that there be some kind of connection efforts made to be linking through anytime there's parent-teacher organization events kinds of things. Or, I'm just saying that those are settings that are already there with a number of people in the public, and it's an opportunity to consider getting input from people on different whatevers.
Thank you for that.
Do you feel like there's enough people on the ownership linkage committee?
Right now, we're just me and Sam. We could probably benefit from one more.
May I? Are you?
Join us.
So we'll have
Yeah.
Saw Bev's hand up first.
Bev and
I'm not on a committee yet, so I'll volunteer.
Ownership linkage is a very good committee to be on. Communication
The
committee.
lift is heavier without Katja.
I feel the same way.
She would crush some writing.
Yeah.
So we could use some support.
so,
I think it,
yeah. Does the board feel like that we need to vote Beverly on, or are we okay with her just volunteering? I think we've pretty much volunteered for the different committees before, so I'm gonna, if you'd like to join, and then we've got to think about, in terms of our goals for the ownership committee, does the board as a whole have some ideas for getting information out to voters? Or do you folks on that committee want to sort of come up with a plan for the year for how we want to, and what we want to do for our linkage with?
Historically speaking, we've done like a early year letter to the community.
There's also,
which I'm totally game to continue to do. I don't know if we should be getting too involved in operational stuff around the campuses in terms of what's going on in terms of communication. I think there is a bit of that already. We can remind people about where to find, the newsletter and various other.
When I was at the gathering that I was at, just as I came back from my travels there, end of April time frame, or April-May time frame, I can't remember it. But anyway, that was one of the points that they were talking about, was different ways that different groups had organized to try and come up with input kinds of sessions, survey kinds of settings and things like that. Could be done informally at PTO type settings, and your plays and musical kinds of settings, those kinds of events too. But I'm just saying, it was thrown out and discussed in a rather broad fashion in that way.
yeah, and I think a lot of that happens organically, right? Like if we go to a planning commission meeting or, something like that in our own towns, then people inevitably talk to us about the concerns they have for their school. And then, we do our very best to not, speak as individuals, but rather as the board. But we are able to listen very well when we go to these things and say, oh, you're on the school board, right? So,
Yeah, I think doing like tables at events just opens us up for violation of our own policies.
I think
You know,
you're right.
all we're gonna do, someone's gonna come to you and they're gonna say, and you're gonna say, okay, we're gonna refer them to the complaint procedure. And it's gonna be like, okay, this is just a big waste of time. In the sense.
Even if it's like the Valentine party that they had up there and they had different crafts going on and things. So even if it were just a coloring kind of activity that you were sitting there doing things and people were just mingling with you at will.
Yeah, but I think the problem with that is we're not speaking as one voice. I mean, yes, you could listen, but you're not going to be able to take action on anything or even speak with an opinion on behalf of the board.
I think there's also a matter of time commitment and bandwidth, right?
Yeah.
Frankly, I don't want to commit to X number of PTO meetings or community events as a formal representative of the school board hanging out. I do think that a lot of this happens organically. And I think that from us, we can probably expect 3 letters, an early, mid, and late year. And then we also can't discount the ownership linkage element from the chair, which is the letter that goes in the town reports. There's a good deal of communication without formally setting up stations at events.
I think when we've talked about this in the past, we've come to the same conclusion that it would be great for board members to be present at sporting events and extracurricular activities and graduation and things like that to the best of our abilities, but creating a policy around it or creating a protocol or procedure around it is a recipe for policy violation.
And I think I'm looking around the table and I'm seeing a lot of people that I see at a lot of school events that I attend for my own kids, so.
And other community events too.
And other community events, and the grocery store, and the post office, and, you know.
None of us are shut-ins, as much as I'd like to be.
Yeah, so I think Sam's right, that it really does open the door to potential violation when you start sharing an opinion, because particularly because we're a close-knit community and you know people so well, it's very easy, someone that you're friendly with, to slip out of, I'm here with my board hat on, I need to speak with my board hat on.
I think if it helps the board at all, remember that every first Wednesday of the month, I am doing a community Google Meet, and it's open for anybody to come and talk about anything that they want to talk about. Those start back up in September, because I only do them when we're in session. So
So do
that
those
helps.
get advertised just within the school community?
I send it out
or-
through Parent Square.
Okay, so that doesn't go out necessarily to people who don't have parents?
Anybody can sign up for Parent Square.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I would agree with what Ryan and Sam said about just making sure that we have a purpose for what we're doing and that we're keeping it at the board level. So we are going to be coming up with, hopefully, a change in our ends, so that might be an opportunity to even partner with Michael and say, here are our new ends, this is how we're doing it. It gives him an opportunity to say the operational side, to share that with folks, and we can look at and talk about, the ends part where we're, these are the outcomes we're looking for, and he's figuring out how to reach those outcomes. So I think we can keep it on that, and that first letter in the fall, will hopefully have a fair amount of information for the general public about these are the outcomes we've updated. They're a little bit, hopefully maybe a little bit meatier than the other ones, and we'll go from there.
Do we need to approve the annual agenda?
Do you want me to, I'm gonna update everything, the dates and everything, and some of these changes that we've made, and then, or we can move to, accept it with the update with the education part being changed to the PG training, and I think those,
The dates.
and then the dates, and then we're good? Can we do that? Okay.
Can I get a blown up version for my refrigerator? Like laminated, so.
You know, at least you don't need a before you needed a magnifying glass to even read it, so, but it is multiple pages now, so, anyway.
Oh, Sam, be careful, I've got a poster maker in the library over at RU.
All right, everybody remember how bad property taxes are, okay? You've got a printer at home.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
I will move to, I'll move to accept the agenda with the discussed changes around the VSBA PG training and updating the dates and locations of our 2025, 2026 school board meetings.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Seconded by Ryan. Any more discussion about the email agenda?
Just want to say I appreciate the discussion that we had on the ownership meeting. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we each year in the same month go to the same schools? Because that would,
Pretty much.
because that would, if not, that would alter when we want the principals to show up, right? And that would change.
We'll make sure they line up to the dates. Because you all should have the meeting dates for this year. So we'll just do a double check.
But I'm not doing a side-by-side check here is what I'm saying. Would you like to vote it down and I can amend my
Thank you for that, that clarification for us to just check to make sure it's lining up. I think it will, because I don't think it changes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, there's 4 schools.
The other thing to think about is, like last year, Patty, we had something that ran out of time at Braintree and she ended up having to present at Randolph, but I think it would feel pretty unfair to make her drive out to Brookfield.
Right.
It's not Patty anymore.
That's true, but in
yes,
this.
it's not fair.
Yeah, we should have just bumped her up on that one.
Yeah.
That was rude.
Yeah, that kind of thing should probably go first in the agenda, really.
Okay.
When we're having
Principals first.
We'll keep that in mind when we build the agenda.
That sounds like a
is to
plan.
make sure that when we have visitors coming, we put them right at the
Well, I think
Good
it's
idea.
nice too, because it sort of welcomes the community that's there to the school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you for that. So are we ready for a vote?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so we've got our annual agenda. We sort of talked about our goals. We're gonna work on those ends. We're gonna continue doing our ownership linkage with our letters. And we call that good for now, and as we move along, if we have other things, which I'm sure we will, that come up, especially with the Up for Marine group that's going to be happening and just changes through the legislature. So next up, Michael, I'm going to have you, do you need to tell us anything about this master agreement, or can I just call for an accept?
So you had Neil and Sam and Hannah were the board members that were on that and supported what we did. I'd say it was a long process, went all the way to mediation. Went late into the evening on the mediation night, I think, if I remember right. And we ended up with a contract that's within what the board budgeted. So we're within budget, and it's a 2-year. It gets us alternating so that the support staff is a 1 year. We'll only be negotiating with one group next year, which will be helpful and let us focus more in. I don't know if you want to be more specific about anything.
So do I have a motion to accept or to ratify the staff master agreement?
I move to ratify the licensed staff master agreement as it is written.
Do I have a second? Second. Seconded by Beverly. Any discussion, further discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, passes. Then we have some,
So one of the
Recs.
specifics within that, within both agreements, was some committees got created. They're in your packet on page 57. And so both the licensed staff and the non-licensed staff created a school.
Our numbers are a little off from
Yeah, I
yours.
had to add Ed and Sarah.
Oh,
Kyle, let's go back to your number.
got it?
Plus 60.
Okay. Thank you. Kyle's going to tell you the page numbers here on out the rest of the night. Sounds like they're going to be about 3 pages more than what I give you. Or probably depends on where she added the thing, so I don't know. So page 60, and both committees wanted a school safety committee. And so you as a board, it's in the contract that you're going to appoint what the representatives are. I would recommend that you appoint the superintendent, this language exactly, the superintendent and at least one principal from each school to that committee. The wage and salary, or the wage schedule study committee was in the non-licensed agreement. And I would suggest that that be the superintendent and the business manager. The professional development, that was the one that I wanted with the support staff and the superintendent and the director of special education. And then the teachers had the reduction in force. And again, I would suggest that that be the superintendent and the business manager.
Do we need to have separate motions for each of these committees, or can we do a lump?
I think your motion could be to appoint the committees as recommended by the superintendent in his report.
I would
just add that we discussed these with Pietro, and I think he concurred with this suggestion.
He has already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Pietro is our district.
Pietro, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay.
He's a lovely man.
L-Y-N-N.
Looks good.
Okay, sorry.
so you were moving, Emil.
I'll move to create these committees with the appointments as outlined in Superintendent Clark's notes in the board packet, page 60.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
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 They look very promising.
Good.
Super. So next up is the pause on the RTCC auto program for the 25-26 school year.
Yeah, thank you. So we've been looking since late spring for an auto teacher. We have not been successful in finding one. We have 8 students in that program. We reached out to families letting them know that we didn't have an auto teacher. We would happily let students move from auto to diesel if they wanted, or any other program. I think at this point, most families have chosen to make that move. And from a state standpoint, in order for us to put a program on hold for a year, we have to have the support of both the school district board and the RAB board. So tonight I'm asking for a motion to support putting the automotive program on hold for 1 year.
So students have the option to go to diesel?
They can go to diesel, they can go to any one of the other
We have
programs.
room-
Most are
have
choosing
room
to
in
go to
diesel?
diesel. Yep, what we
Okay,
did with
okay.
diesel was we're prepared to bring in a second person to help support the class and use the funds that we would have paid for the teacher.
What are the numbers in the diesel group?
The diesel group, I think, is going to be at like 16, 17.
Well, it's unfortunate, but it sounds like a good alternative.
You have a question?
I don't know if I can talk about it that much more. Last quarter at the RAB meeting, we saw this potentially coming to fruition here. And when we looked at the different commitments for each program, this is kind of what the writing on the wall looked like. And I presume RAB will vote on it in September here.
That's right.
So but this was due to not being able to find a staff person to teach the automotive.
Only-
It wasn't
yeah.
due to numbers.
Right, but sorry, saying where we could put the various
Yeah.
kids.
Was there zero interest in the position? I mean, did we get no interest in the position whatsoever?
We did not have people that were qualified and willing to do the job.
Very quickly, what happens to the former automotive space? The physical space that the class was taught in?
It's going to stay vacant for a year, and we're going to get a teacher in that year and get that up and going and renew it for next year. We're not closing that program.
Perfect.
That program is a high-interest program, or can be a high-interest program. I think what happened, unfortunately, what happens sometimes with high school students is the teacher drives the interest. And when we lose a teacher at the last minute, it creates because I think there would have been more than 8 kids, right? If we knew who it was going to be and what it was going to look like. So I think what Nika's going to have to do is get that position hired so that when we're in the recruiting place, we can bring that person in and we can get that person kind of up and going. So it's not.
So how much of our auto mechanic has commented on how hard it is right now to be able to get, he's always got to sign out for hiring. And that is a demand area. So are we in competition or what kind of dynamics have you encountered?
Are we in
With
competition with?
Trying to find prospective teachers?
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Our wages, whenever you can't hire a position, in almost any industry, you have to ask yourself if your wages are competitive, If you're paying people enough, are they coming to do the work? So I know this isn't something that you can necessarily speak to, but.
Well, we're looking for the right person for this position too, right? I mean, you can be a really fantastic mechanic, but if you don't want to work with kids and you don't want to explain things, then you're not going to be a good fit for this job. So.
And I think we know that there's a teacher shortage, right? And now Martha has just explained that there is an automotive mechanic shortage. And so it feels like we're trying to find, someone that overlaps in those two areas is an even narrower field.
We want a Pegasus and a unicorn.
Yes, so it's very tricky.
Very hard to find a Pegasus with a horn.
And we will find the right person and we'll put it into place. It just wasn't that, remember, that teacher quit very late spring. And so we haven't had the time to, that's got to sit out there. We hired really well in every other position.
Yeah.
So So
Is it the kind of thing that you're anticipating, looking for somebody that could somehow mix in with the diesel crew or something on anything, in any mesh and for even a couple of days? No?
no, I think that what we'll do is we'll get the program up and we'll work on getting a person to get the program up and going and not create the disruption in the diesel program.
Okay, so you need a motion from us.
I do.
Okay. In the motion, help me with the motion. Somebody would.
Put the automated program on hold.
Yes.
For a year.
Pause it.
I just heard Beverly say.
I move, thank you. I have not done a motion yet. I move that to place the automotive program on hold for a year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Martha. Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, education needs for this coming year. We sort of covered some of that in the annual agenda discussion. So it sounds like we had agreement, but since it means that we will need to be paying out of our, we have a $10,000 budget for the board to do its work. So it sounded like there were folks that were interested to at least have that option of a PG virtual training on a monthly basis. It is going to be on, they're saying Thursdays. I'm not sure which Thursday of the month it's going to be. There'll be 8 of them starting September and going through May. And as Michael said, it doesn't matter. We can sign everybody up and it's still $450. If 3 people show up, it would still be $450 for the whole shooting match.
From what I remember, they were excellent. I think they could meet our board education needs and double as our PD plan for the year.
Yeah, and Jeannie, I think everyone was pretty happy with her training style. She will be leading, she and Deb both will be leading the training. So I think people were happy.
Do we need a motion?
So I do need a motion to have us sign up for that PG training.
I move to have us sign up for the PG training and utilize, what did you say, $450 from the board training budget.
Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Seconded by Ryan. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Great, now we're
So we'll be
$9,000 on the
doing that.
budget.
The only other thing that I was wondering for training was if the board felt like we wanted to have Jeannie come back specifically to sort of talk over the ends with us when we get that first draft in October. I don't know if she'll be available, but she might be willing to do that. Either come in virtually
October or
or
September?
October. Wait,
No,
we're in
September.
August now, so it would be
Yeah.
September. Yeah, do you think she'd be available? She might be available.
Let's
Do
get a-
folks feel like they want that, to just have her there to sort of, again, help us understand what our ends are, understand what we're doing with the ends, or do we feel
Yeah,
we got it?
I think she adds a lot of value to that conversation. I think it would be great if she could virtually meet with us, considering she lives in the Carolinas.
Yeah, getting a sense of what the cost would be.
Yeah, I think it's 100, is it, you said 150 an hour for
For me, it's having to talk to Jeannie on August 19th.
August 19th. So can you check in with her? And do you recall the cost last year for specialty?
I don't.
Let's find out the cost and then we can decide on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll table, if we table till September, then we can't have her with us in September. Is there a cost limit, I guess, maybe is it better, if it's over?
So I think the board right now is discussing, I mean, you're discussing a $200 expenditure right at the moment, maybe, something less than that.
Okay. Out of a $10,000 budget that we have for.
I'll just take it out of a different line. I'll take it out of a superintendent education line. I mean,
I think, I'm also happy to, I don't know that we even used our whole budget last year, so I think if
we've
it's,
ever
I'd like to move to invite Jeannie and pay her for her time if it's under $500.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sam. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, that passes. Okay, so we'll have Jeannie in addition to our PG virtual training. Okay, so now we're up to, and how are we doing time-wise? 7:34. A bit behind time. We are reviewing the first read of the monitoring reports for executive limitation 2.0, 2.8, and 2.9, as well as the memo from Michael regarding 2.8.
so I draw your attention to, it is page 18 in the board packet. And you recall that at the retreat, one of the things came up about, is the board following its policies? It was Rachel who was looking at that question, and she didn't get a clean, yes, the board is following its policies. She got from me at that meeting, well, I'm working on something right at the moment, and would come back to you. And so in the process of coming back to you, it's pretty clear to me, looking at executive limitation 2.8, that it states, quote, the superintendent shall not cause or allow the board to be uninformed or unsupported in its work. It further specifies under bullet 5 of that particular policy, let the board be unaware if in the superintendent's opinion, the board is not in compliance with its own policies or governance process and board management delegation, particularly in the case of board behavior that is detrimental to the work relationship between the board and the superintendent. So Rachel, when you asked that question back on July 9th, my intention had been to work individually with that person, kind of figure out what's going on and how do we move forward with it. And since then, it's pretty clear that I don't get to do that as a superintendent. I don't get to have that side conversation. I need to bring to the attention of the board when you have members who, or as a board, are not within your governance. So we tried to do that in a way that doesn't specifically identify any individual member. And in this memo, you'll see that I'm looking at this as fulfilling my responsibility under the policy governance, the 2.8, that bullet specifically, and I'm trying to do it in a way that's educational, right? I'm not trying to be sitting here with a finger pointing and wagging and saying, hey, this is it, but I'm trying to say that when it came to policy 3.1, that's the unity of control and the principle that the board works together as a unit to conduct its work. 3.4, monitoring the superintendent, that's the requirement that oversight occurs through the board as a whole. And policy 4.1, the commitment to create a sense of group responsibility. Right? I think when you don't follow those parts of your policy, creates situations where not all board members have the same information. It erodes the principle of uniform decision-making. And with that in mind, what I was working on there was an email that had gone to a board chair at the Grand Isle Supervisory Union. I've included the text of that within this document. I'm missing a page now. Page 16, I gotta flip this over, sorry. So I provided the summaries of the incidents on page 16. Back on July 1st, a board member emailed the Albert board chair looking, oh, sorry, it's not 16, it's three more than that.
It's 19. It's
19.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You got the different numbers.
Yep, it's 19 for you. So, in this case, I guess I'm just going to summarize it, that the one of the OSSD board members looked or emailed the chair of the Albert School Board. The title of the subject line was Digging Up History, and was looking at in June of 2023. I think the people that were on the hiring committee are pretty clear. The Albert board voted no confidence in me. And what's interesting about it is if you go through the process, the Albert board turned over the very next town meeting day, and in April rescinded the vote of no confidence in the new vote. So there was a lot going on.
I think that detail gets often lost in your story.
It does. But the thing about it is, I think that this is a case where if as a board, you don't know. I mean, when you look at your policies, you're going out as individual board members, and in looking at that is not necessarily where you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be working together as a board. I would be happy that at the time that I was hired, I supplied 2 years worth of evaluation materials, the most 2 recent. I would put those up on the website, to be honest with you. They're really fantastic. The board did a great job, and would say that I'm proud of the work that I did in Grand Isle. But anyway, you can see that the current board chair and the board chair at the time that I was there responded to that board member's email with the email that I've included here. So anyway, the second incident happened on July 16th. This was an incident where we had a board member emailing several other board members, 3 other board members. It actually turns out that on June 16th, because you were down a board member, this board member communicating with 3 other board members made a total of 4 board members, which at the time was a quorum of the board, talking about process. And so, again, what you're looking at is you get to a spot where it creates people not having all of the information and whatnot, what you're looking for. Anyway, I think that you can read it and you can decide what it is that you're looking to do with it. From my perspective, I think it's an opportunity for you to look at your board policies and to think about, do you need more training? Do you need something else, or where are you at? But for me, that's the memo that I'm going to attach to 2.8 when I report out around, is the board following its policies? So, do you want me to pause for a minute before I jump into the monitoring of the different pieces?
Sure. So I'll just remind the board that, when you're out of compliance, our goal is to learn and to say, okay, what do we need to do to get back into compliance? And I think some of the discussion that we had earlier about being really clear. When we're at events with our children, we have our parent hat on. When we're out in the community, we might have our community hat on. And we do have the right to, speak to a teacher if we have a concern about our own child, but we as board members need to work really carefully to make sure that we're really clear with the folks that we're speaking with, that we have several different roles. And when we are in our community role, our parent role, our grandparent role, we are very clear with folks to make sure, because we are living in small communities. So again, you can review this. We can discuss it some more maybe at the next meeting if folks feel like we need or we want more clarification. I did get the playbook, the policy governance playbook, and I'm going to look through and see if there's some examples where we can kind of talk through, well, if you're in this situation, what do you do? Because it's hard, and we are in a small community. So, we just want to make sure that we are in compliance and that we all know what we need to be doing in order to remain in compliance. So I appreciate Michael pointing it out to us. He has to do it because it is in our policies. I know it was a little bit hard for him, but I appreciate him letting us know. So as a board, do we feel like we would like to, do we want to get a little more education on making sure we know which, sort of how we stay in our role in terms of speaking as one, or are we good for now?
I don't think we speak as one. I think we speak as individuals of the community coming together, and as we talk, yes, eventually we get to one, but I don't think we have to come here to the board
Right.
as being one.
Absolutely, you've got it. So we all come here and we have our diverse viewpoints, and then we make a motion, and that's the will of the board. So
The board
we need,
speaks as one.
the board speaks as one.
yeah.
So, and even if I disagree, when I'm out in the community, the board, we are in line and in support of what our board has decided.
So I think
Even
a
if we're
clarification is that we all come to one table with our diverse opinions. But we don't leave this table with diverse opinions. We have motions, we vote on them, and that is the voice that we share within the community.
I think that's very well said.
I would add, though, that there's still room for somebody to be perhaps in disagreement, with a particular vote, but the voice of the board has spoken, so that's what we'll pursue. But I still think that there's room for some disagreement, perhaps.
And we have discussions right here, and it seems like that's the space where you voice disagreement, is during a board meeting where we can all be part of that conversation and where it's public record.
Some pieces of clarity just logistically about this that came up for me was, I know that if we, as individuals, send an email to multiple board members, that is a violation of open meeting law.
Correct.
What then has to happen to rectify that? Do we have to call a meeting retroactively, for instance, or how do we?
Somebody has to ask for there's a special word for it. Do you know the word?
It's an open meeting law. I don't know what the special word is, but right on our website, there's an open meeting law violation.
But you can
report.
cure it. You can cure it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the word.
I see.
If somebody requests.
Since you didn't take any action on the items that were
There's nothing to
involved
cure.
with that, there's nothing to cure.
But I think the law, I think this is just a point of detail, I think the quorum is of what the board is designed to be. That it doesn't change, the quorum doesn't change if you're down a person.
It does.
Right? I don't think so. Arm wrestle over it?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I think you're wrong.
I double checked before last meeting.
All right. I specifically looked at that question before too, and it is like, you don't have a, like if we are down a person, you don't have a quorum if you don't, like you still need 5 to run a meeting even if you're at 7 of an 8-person board.
Last meeting, I would have had the statute and I would have sent it to you. So I can
right.
send you the statute.
Okay, that'd be great.
when
I would appreciate that.
Joined the board, I sent out something to everybody, not knowing anything about all of this, saying, hi, this is who I am, and I'd love to have a chance to chat with you kind of thing. And I was told, no, you can only send it to 3 at a time because that would be less than the quorum. So those are.
But it can even be in serial, right? Like you can send it to 3 and then 3 more, and then and you've created, with the email, you've created a quorum. But you can discuss things like timing of meetings, and there are certain things that you can discuss, but you can't discuss board business.
This wasn't a open meeting law violation. This was access to information violation.
Yeah, I think that with the principle of that I was looking at there, that I think that you're not in compliance with when that happens, is you have board members coming to the table with having talked to each other or having put information out to each other. So in this case, was it Rachel and Sam Rachel, Sam, and Ann were three people plus the person sending it who had the information. And so that meant that when we got to the table, there were potentially other people who weren't involved in that and didn't have that information. So what it creates is the perception that business is happening not at the board table, not being recorded. And that's not a good place to be. That is contrary to policy governance, in particular the areas that I cited in the writing. And so I think that when you have something as a board member that you are concerned about, your role is to bring it to the chair or the superintendent, and it's not a little mini conversation with other board members, right? And then that comes to the table as a concern, if or not. It depends on how that rolls.
In the discussions that were held in the board meeting, there were a number of people that were commenting on things that had happened at the select board and how they felt that they were intervening on our processes. But the state law put the select board in the driver's seat on that. And what we did was kind of jump the gun on things initially, but it worked out. And I was bringing to people's attention that the state statutes were what was the driving force here for why it was done the way it was done.
So I think what I'm trying to say here, Martha, is the person's attention that the person who sent the email should send that to is the chair. It should not go to a subsection of the board.
The chair already knew, and you did too, because it had already been discussed with you two, so I wasn't trying to bring that. Well, that's the reason why I didn't do that. I thought, because then I would be talking to more than 3 people at once.
So look, I think this is a board thing, and I'm going to be quiet after this. But my take would be, it was the responsibility of the acting board chair to address that when you go in to the policy governance sections and you look at the different roles and responsibilities, what you're talking about falls right on the chair's responsibility around building agendas and whatnot in meetings. It doesn't fall on a random subsection of board members to make up their minds about what's happening there. If a random subsection of board members want to do something different, they do it at the table. You come to that special meeting and you say,
people's awareness that the law of the state was to do it in this fashion. And that's all I did. So
I think what's trying to be communicated is that, for example, I was not included on that communication.
You weren't there for the,
Let me finish,
Okay, yep.
please? And so when I showed up to our special meeting, it felt like I really felt like I had missed something. I can see now that I had missed a lot of communication that had happened behind the scenes. So then you have board members coming to a meeting, voting on things, right? We're a public body. And so if we're coming without equity of information,
this was happening after the meeting. It wasn't anything before the meeting. The two that knew before the meeting that I knew of were Ann and Mike.
so it sounds like maybe there would be some benefit to reviewing open meeting law and really looking at our policies.
And getting clear.
And getting clarity on it, because it's kind of veering off topic, and I think we should probably get back on topic, but
Yeah.
we just talked about our annual agenda, and I think it's reasonable to consider an annual review of the open meeting law.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, and the VSBA has a great webinar that covers all of open meeting. If we want to do that, or does a subset of the group want to review it and lead a discussion on open meeting? And we can put it in as one of our first things for board education in September. Anybody really passionate about open meeting law? And wanna
I love the rules, but
take that on? Do you have a suggestion?
I just wanna-
You're having a
yes.
suggestion that we have some training on open meeting law.
Kind of an annual review, just part of the
Okay.
annual education,
Okay,
because it comes up all the time.
all the time.
Maybe at the beginning
Yeah.
of the school year, we read through it.
We read
Make sure that we
through.
really understand it.
The VSBA sent out a laminated,
Yeah, everybody
Thing.
should have that
Well-
in.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
This
is the biggest
And
thing
then
on
there's
my
also
fridge.
the other one.
the
on open
Vermont
meeting law.
League of Cities and Towns actually has a really good
Summary.
webinar. Yeah,
webinar.
yeah, it's a pre-recorded. Trying to think who sent that to me, but it gives examples of like, it gives real life examples that are. I found it very easy to follow. Something that seemed pretty complicated at the beginning.
But going forward until then, pretty clear to me, if we have information or item to add to the agenda, we email the board chair as an individual, we have one person, send an email to the board chair, and try not to send messages to the whole group or subsets of them. That's good.
I got a question. I mean, if you want to talk about some subject, I mean, my father was on a board, and they couldn't go to meetings without making sure there were less than the quorum figures to be traveling together in the car. I mean, you're always going to have those kinds of subsets where different groups are talking about different things that are surfacing. And I'm puzzled as to how,
Can I tell you how I would handle it?
okay?
As a new board member, I think my thing would be, hey, there's something I want to talk about, and may I please get 10 minutes on the next meeting to talk about my pet project or subject or whatever it is? And then she'd say yes, and then I do it at that meeting.
And if she says no, then at the point where it's time to adjust the meeting, you would say, I'd like to bring to the board's attention that I would like to discuss this. And if the board as a whole or if a quorum of the board wants to do it at that point, that's how you get around it if you're not simpatico with your chair. Right? I think that you have, as a board, very specific policies that go even further than open meeting law. and expectations that go further than open meeting law, and they're in your governance policies. And I think you have to be familiar with those governance policies. And so if looking at those is something that needs to happen in a refreshing way, I think that's part of why the opportunity to do some of that policy governance where we could tailor some more of that policy governance, whatever it is, but knowing what those policies are. Like, clearly this is my full-time job, and a month ago, I didn't really understand that I didn't have a choice but to report out to the board, right? A month ago, I was ready to handle that privately with the individual. And then it became clear that if I did that, I'm in violation of that executive limitation. So, right? So what's interesting is I learn about my executive limitations every single time I write one of these reports, right? I have to go back and I have to look at it. Are you all going back and looking at your expectations in the governing processes with that kind of regularity? Is that helpful? Do you need to? What does that look like? And so for me, this is just my opportunity to say, hey, here's three sections that you want to look at and understand, because from my perception, and again, this is, the policy says, if in the superintendent's opinion, it doesn't mean my opinion's even right? So, but you have to look at it and say what's going on here or not. And so that just brings you to those to have the conversation. And then to summarize it like you did, Ryan, that your takeaway is, I would send the email to Anne, this is what I would do, and away I go. I mean, that might be the training on those three individual places for this year. Who knows? It's up to you all as a board to decide what that looks like.
Okay. So I think we will keep we're going to be doing this policy governance training. We've got some education in line. I'm hearing that a review, and I should put that into our agenda maybe. I'm going to add that into the agenda. Oh, except that we already accepted it with what we had put in there. So, because what I heard from Rachel, and I don't know if we want to have a motion to do an open meeting law review for the next meeting, or maybe we put it off to October, just because we're already lining up quite a bit of stuff. And in the meantime, if folks want to there's the VSBA open meeting law webinar, there's one through the Vermont League of Cities and Towns. We've got our handouts from the VSBA, and then we can maybe add that in as an education topic.
If September's full, October sounds great for a review of the open meeting law.
Review of open meeting law.
I will second Ryan's motion.
Yeah, I moved that. There was movement.
Unspoken. We knew what you meant.
And in the meantime, if people can think about how they might want to have that done, and if anyone is particularly, or knows someone in the community, we can always ask a guest to come in and share some information with us.
Should we vote on the motion for adding that to our
Yes,
agenda?
let's, thank you. So we've had a second. Do we have any more discussion before we call it to a vote? Seeing none, all those in favor of having a review of open meeting law added to the October section for the board education of our annual agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Great. And then, Michael, any comments regarding the other two executive limitations?
So they're in the 2.0 had been in the original format. I moved it into the new format, made some additions, some some changes along the way, so it added a little bit to it, but I'm feeling pretty good about it. I think I'm in the right track there. 2.8 we've talked about, and 2.9, again, it was in the older format, it's in the new format here.
Are there any questions for him? And again, this is our first review, so this is your opportunity to read through them. If you would like to go down to the central office and set some time up to look through the binder that has even more supplemental evidence for the report, you can do that. And then at the next meeting, we'll have the second review. Okay, so we're moving on to the financials.
Good shape. You ended last year. We don't have a final number, but we have close to a final number. You're running a significant surplus, more than $1 million. So hopefully, that was a budget that we ran. It was created with a different administration. Run was my first year here, so we ran well. I hope we're closer. I'm happy to have a little bit of a surplus. I prefer that much over running a deficit. 1.8 million is a little bit more than where I want to be with it, though. I'd like to bring that down into the, a couple $100,000 would be fine with me on a $25 million budget. But then again, you're building a budget in October for something that ends a year, 18, 20 months later, so there's always going to be some play, and I guess I'd rather have the play be we didn't spend everything. So I'm going to anticipate that by next month, Robin will have us down to just about everything. This includes. You'll recall that we were afraid that we were not going to get some of the ESSER funds and whatnot. Almost all of that ESSER funding came through, so that's off the table now. That 1.8 is, I think we're pretty close to where we're gonna land.
Cool. We're good.
Any questions for Michael?
Comment on hedging to put some funds aside for school maintenance.
So we have you have a reserve account that a portion of your surplus goes into that you vote on each year. And
Maybe
so,
I need to be rewording it as replacement.
So I think that's a much bigger conversation than.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just asking.
yeah, I think what'll happen is when we come up with a final number as we're building next year's budget, we'll make a recommendation of what do you do with that, what do you do with the surplus funds, just like you did last year, and you weren't on the board yet. Right?
I wasn't there.
Right.
No.
So what happens in the budgeting season, Martha, is that the surplus, we put funds into 2 different reserve accounts last year, at least 2 different reserve accounts. And so you as a board decide what that looks like. You have an operational fund that you've had a formula going for quite some time that if you stop funding it, you'll create a funding cliff. But other than that, money had gone into last year mostly the facilities reserve, but you also have a technology reserve, you have a special education reserve, you have a transportation reserve.
Operations reserve?
The operations reserve.
I think
We've also used surplus to buy down the property tax increase.
What's that?
We've used the surplus to buy down the property tax increase.
Which you can.
As well.
Yep. Except for the surplus buys down the property tax 2 years later. So this surplus can buy down, not this year's budget, it'll be the next year's budget.
But I think you're bringing it up, the specter of the school, the replacement of the high school.
Yeah.
And that should be.
And just give me a sense, though, what kind of figure is that for replacing the high
$100 million.
school? How many?
$100 million.
$100
What we've been
million.
told.
Okay, so drop in a bucket.
Yes,
I think our budget is.
you know, unfortunately, even if even if the district had had the foresight to say, you know, eventually we're going to have to replace these buildings and started putting money away, I'm led to understand that the state would say, oh, you've got too much money in your accounts, we're not giving you any more money, and so there was really no way to prepare for the eventuality of needing to replace school buildings.
Okay, thank you.
Financially.
Okay, so moving onward to the policy decisions for the district. This is the second read on required state policies. So again, these are all vetted by the VSBA's council. And Michael is required to have all of the required policies adopted by our district. So this is a second read of C29 equity, D23 instructional materials, and D8, which is replacing D22 library materials. Do I have a motion to adopt these policies?
So moved.
Do I have a second? Ooh, second.
You're doing all three of them now?
By Emil.
All three? Can we do them one at a time? I do have some
We have to
discussion.
vote this, we have to vote this down and then,
Yeah,
I mean, there's
we have
discussion to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're in discussion now, so am I hearing you say, Martha, you'd like to have these, you would rather have these voted one at a time rather than all three?
Yes, please.
Okay, what do people think about that? And the motion on the table is that we accept them all three now, so.
I feel like that's a reasonable request.
Vote.
There can be discussion about.
Can we just discuss about
Yeah,
each policy and then
sure.
decide whether we're gonna change the motion?
So I'll just remind the board that because these are all vetted by the VSBA legal counsel, if our board decides not to adopt them, one, we put Michael out of compliance.
Compliant, thank you.
And two, we would then need to hire our legal counsel to make sure that whatever changes we're going to make in these policies are not going to get us into any kind of legal trouble, either with the state or
Help us maintain our compliance with state and federal law.
Yeah, and compliance with your board, with your executive limitation 2.9. So that would have been the answer that I would have given until this last time that I was going through, and I realized that, wait a minute, if you don't adopt the policies as they're coming in, I can't meet your executive limitation without going through a different legal avenue, and then I have to prove that I went through that different legal avenue, and you're adding
and that
lots of
costs
layers.
Lots of layers and a lot of cost. Because remember, we would then have to have it all vetted through our legal counsel.
Well, let's talk.
So on the equity one, I just wanted to make a comment, and that isn't necessarily, but, you know, what's here is fine, but I just would like to make a comment that in my book, equity didn't mean the same as what it did when Susanna Davis ended up being the equity director at the, appointed by the governor, in that mine was more in line with what MLK was saying, and saying, you know, everybody should have a chance to have their dreams, and that we should be celebrating each other's dreams, and we should be celebrating each other's cultures and celebrating each other's differences and affirming each other for having the right to have those kinds of differences too. So what's evolved is had too many things where people are being separated into groups and they're being oppositional to other stances. So I'm just, I just would like to say that my definition of equity may not necessarily be the same definition as somebody else's, and saying that what I look for is where you can have diverse cultures and have supportive dynamics in a bigger humanity kind of scenario, that everybody has a chance to be celebrated and recognized for who they are. So that's my comment.
All right, thank you very much. So we get a motion on the table, we're discussing, is there any more discussion or any more comments? Policies?
On the library materials, I do have more, but how do you want to do it? Anybody else have?
Go for it.
So, I've read carefully the statements for the the American Library Association's Freedom to Read statement and Vermont's Freedom to Read statements and things that are listed here. I personally have great concerns with the American Library stance in that basically they want to say anybody should be able to read anything and at any age and not all those things. We briefly commented the last time about does that mean pornography? And you said no on that, and I'd have to agree that I don't think pornography, there was reasons why all of our corner stores couldn't have certain books or magazines available unless you were a certain age kind of thing. And there were reasons for those age limitations being put in place then. But the book that American Library Association awarded recognition to was the one that I commented on the last time with Genderqueer. And it's a book that if it were made into a movie would be an X-rated movie. And yet we have it on our bookshelves and available, or some schools still do, to anybody that comes across it. And there's comments that I could pull up. I don't have it right in front of me at the moment, but how a lot of students stumble into pornography and feel very 66% of them feel like it's something they wish they hadn't encountered. And so that's a place where I'm saying, do we want those kinds of books to be in our school libraries for kids to stumble upon and encounter and have that kind of reaction to? So I'll put that out there for your comments too at this point.
Okay. So again, these are state policies that follow our state law and our state constitution. And so do we have any other comments before we call the vote?
I would like to briefly go back to genderqueer because you said we don't discuss it.
So that I think is really an operational component. So that would be a conversation with Michael outside the board meeting if we're talking about specific books that we want or don't want in our libraries. Am I correct?
When you adopt this policy, I will produce a procedure that goes with it. I already have a legal procedure that has been developed by the VSBA to go in companion with this. And if somebody's not okay with the library materials that we have available, they can follow that procedure.
Okay. So there is a procedure that if people in the community feel that this book shouldn't be there, then there is a way of having it removed.
When you adopt this, I will put that procedure with it on the website, yes.
But I just want to point out, because you said it would be a conversation with Michael outside the board meeting, but you're saying as a community member, not as a board member.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that.
And that conversation sounds more like this formal form.
Yes, I think what I would probably do in that case is I would say to any board member who wants to see it, it'll be on the website, the procedure to follow that is called for in this policy. And then the procedure is not adopted by the board, procedure is adopted by administration. And so if somebody wants to have a conversation with me about that, then they can have a conversation with me about that. I don't think that's something that the board gets to decide.
Just curious, have you used this procedure before?
This is a brand new procedure that the state developed in, so what happens is that.
Policy.
That's exactly right.
Very good.
Okay, so are we ready to call the question to agree to accept these 3 required state policies? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
With the, yeah, with proviso that you've given, I can accept that.
Okay. So we are moving on to monitoring the board. So again, this is where the board looks at its policies that help us understand how we should be behaving and what we are doing. And this one coincides with our agenda planning, which is what we were doing primarily tonight, but it's also looking back over the last year. We worked off of an annual agenda last year. Anna isn't here to sort of describe her process, but she basically, I was with her for at least part of the time, and we basically fill the agenda primarily through the annual agenda with things that come up periodically from Michael's perspective. So that's done pretty well. I would say we are on par with doing that. And hopefully everybody kind of sees, a lot of people who've been on the board are coming around to your second or third year now.
Oh, 2.5?
2.5. So hopefully you're beginning to see a pattern that the board follows. The only thing, and as I was looking at, this because this is basically what we were doing tonight, is the annual agenda planning is, and this is where it would be nice to have some time with Jean and Debbie to sort of talk a little bit about, you'll notice on step, what is it, number 2 on the second page, there's a bullet that says consultations with selected groups in ownership or other methods of gaining ownership input. But it's sort of, that's our ownership linkage thing, and I'm thinking, when should we do, like because we've got to have a purpose behind doing it, and as we kind of talked about before, a lot of times if we reach out at school events or whatever, we're getting customer relations issues which have more to do with operations than it does with sort of the level of work that the board is doing. So anyway, we haven't done that. Do our consent agenda, and remember again, consent agenda should not be taking a lot of time in our board meetings, and we haven't been, our policy says that we need to, if we're going to pull out an item on the consent agenda, we're supposed to be doing that by having a majority of the board agree to pull something off the consent agenda. Otherwise, it gets done as a slate. I didn't realize that until I read this in preparation.
I think we have, I don't think we've done that consistently, but I think we have done that.
Yeah, because it's toward the end of the meeting anyway, so we're kind of like, let's hurry up. So, Any other comments on how we're doing with our agenda planning? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to our consent agenda, which is
So I think what you're saying is you're looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Rachel. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
There we go. And then closing, you want to highlight it, just a couple of things on your,
Yeah, well, let's welcome Beverly here. I don't know that we officially did that at the
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
beginning, so let's do that. Let's do that now. It's in my report. Beverly, I hope I got everything right in that. I took it from your letter, so I think I should be pretty good. I would say that usually you're pretty interested in staffing, and that's also in my report at the moment. We are in pretty good shape as far as staffing goes right now, other than that automotive teacher. We're looking for an interventionist. We're always looking for substitutes. If you know somebody who wants to be a daily substitute, always happy to have those folks. But we're in really good shape as far as getting started for the year. I got a little thing going on that you can read about in here around, we share a garage. We have an agreement, a 10-year agreement with the town around the use of the garage, and there's a little bit of debate about exactly what that means right at the moment. Essentially, the town has had a holding tank for their septic system since before we came into that agreement, which was like 2019. And now they're wanting to put in a leach field, and that happens to be where we park the buses so that we can plug the buses in near the building. And so that will create a maintenance problem for us if we're not able to do that. I'm still hopeful that we'll come to a resolution that works. You'll notice if you drive over to the high school, the driveway's torn up in a narrow straight line from about where the water line in the main water main is to where it comes into the building. You'll recall that 2 years ago your water failed and you had a geyser coming up right out in front of the school building. And you'll remember that Wes and Bob have come to you a number of times worried about their Band-Aid that was there, because once that line fails between the main and the school in one place, it's just a matter of time before it fails in another. At this point, they've replaced everything from the water main into the building, so the Band-Aid is off and the patient is healed, I suppose, would be the way to look at that. I think other than that, I do want to draw your attention to the administrative restructure that we've got. I know that it is almost 8:30, and I'm not going to read it to you, but I'm going to essentially say to you that through shifting around, I have been able to combine the assistant special ed director position with an early elementary principal position that came open when we started hiring and whatnot and shifting, so that from a budget standpoint, we are one unplanned administrator down from where we expected to be. Okay, and we decreased the administrative responsibilities from an assistant superintendent to a director of curriculum and student achievement, which you all know about. We talked about it there. So I don't get to count that as a whole administrator, but I get to count it as, a reduction in I don't know, administrivia, I guess. And then the last piece, you'll remember also that from an administrative position of an HR director to our employment and benefits specialist, and she has started off and is doing really well. So we went from an administrator position to an hourly position there. So significant reductions in administration, which you ought to be able to talk about when we get into budget season.
Comment.
How many administrators altogether are there in our district?
So I would not want to do that off the top of my head right here. And if you,
Well,
if the
so
board,
part of the reason I'm asking is because I saw something circulating that was going, oh my God, 7,000 administrators statewide in the schools? Does that seem at all reasonable?
I would have no clue.
So I was going to try and peek at what we have in our size, compare it to the rest, and see what I came up with.
Martha, what would be the flip side of that? How many educators? You know, if we've got many administrators, how many educators? And what's a reasonable ratio?
Yeah.
Would be the question that we have beyond that.
Okay. So action recap. We are going to review and get that annual agenda up, and everyone will have an updated one. We will check in with Jean about doing ends training with us as you present what the two of you have come up with, and hopefully a little bit of PD around that. We have, do you want me to do the VSBA? Well, we've agreed to sign up for the VSBA policy governance training. We'll figure out who's going to actually do the paperwork to get that done. And then I think that's all. So we will go ahead and adjourn.
All right, for all the people who are out online, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and shut the meeting down.
Rachel.